Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything from hair to fashion to skincare products. We'll talk about the latest trends in makeup, hairstyles, and anti-aging remedies. And we'll cover all of the newest fashion trends. If you have an interest in or questions about the beauty and fashion trends that might work best for you, the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast has got you covered.
Everyone, and thanks for checking out the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast, sponsored by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Becky, and today we're talking about makeup later on. But first, I thought I would start this segment off with a little bit about skincare. Now, like I mentioned in one of my previous episodes, I am subscribed to the FabFitFun box, which is a seasonal box that comes every couple months. And in my last box, I remember I had said that the box is themed for winter. And one of the things that came in the box was a face mask along with, various other things. So today I tried a lot of products out, including the face mask from this box, which is by Enro Laszlo. I think I'm saying that right. But it is an exfoliating and detox pore cleansing clay mask. And it came in 3.3 fluid ounce tube. One of the interesting things that I found on the box was there's actually a message from the company. And it says, since 1927, our mission is to give individuals control over their skin, and through this, the confidence to fulfill their dreams. So we'll see about that. And then it says, discover your unique treatment ritual and the expertise of Enro Laszlo Custom Skincare Solutions, advanced innovative formulas for you, only you. So one, I thought it was kind of cute that they did like a little personal company statement on the box. And it kind of tells you exactly who you're dealing with, before you even get to try the product. As for what the product promises to do, there's also a message on the back. Do more for your pores. Distressed skin calls for powerful measures. This hydrating, detoxifying mask is the perfect antidote to fight impurities and boost skin's natural defenses. Harnessing the natural benefits of clay, it helps remove impurities without drying, infusing moisture and nutrients into the skin as it draws out the dirt and oil from pores. Your face feels brand new, smoother, and even more toned and glowing. That is quite the statement, my friends. And the directions are pretty straightforward, like all masks. This one in particular is one that you keep on your face until it dries, and then you wash it off, pat your face dry. So I started my experimentation with makeup today by using the clay mask, which was great because I could do my research for this podcast and a face mask at the same time. One. And two, I have really oily skin, which I've mentioned on here before. So anything that says clay in it, I'm down for, because clay is one of those things that, one, is great for oily skin, and two, clay is really purifying. So when it comes to your pores, it's very moisturizing, but it's also grabbing dirt out of your pores. So I was down, basically. So it does say to leave the mask on for 10 to 15 minutes or until it dries. For me, that was about 12 or so minutes. As long as you're doing a, thin, it says to do a thin opaque layer across your face, which, is pretty easy to do. I did it with my fingers. No big deal. You can do it with a brush, whatever you have handy. And the one thing that I really liked was it almost felt like a hand lotion cream, but slightly thicker. So it was really easy to put on, and it didn't feel very heavy. which is one of my problems with a lot of face masks. They can feel a little heavy, they can feel kind of sticky, and I'm not about it. So the one thing that I really liked about this product was it felt light, it didn't feel heavy, and it didn't feel, as it dried, it didn't feel very constricting, which is another thing that I think a lot of these dry masks do. So as it was drying, it didn't feel like my whole face was frozen. It still felt like I had a lot of mobility in my face, so we're about that. And it also didn't really smell like clay. I actually have a Amazon Clay foundation from Tarte, which I love, by the way, if you have oily skin or are looking for a new foundation. But one of the things about the Tarte foundation is that it does have this kind of clay smell to it, which isn't for everybody. I don't mind it, but it isn't for it isn't for everybody. But I felt like this face mask didn't really have like a distinct smell. It wasn't, covered up by like florals or anything like that. It was just, kind of unscented, maybe like a slight undertone of the clay. And lastly, the mask says that you can use it 2 or 3 times a week depending on your need, which is interesting. And the one thing that I am looking forward to is trying it out maybe 2 times a week and seeing, what kind of difference that does to my skin. I do have a lot of like blackheads on my nose, so I'm wondering if maybe that will fix some of that issue. I have a lot of trouble getting dirt out of the pores on my nose. I don't know if they're too small or, what's going on there, but I'm interested to see how the product works, in combination with my skin. So I will do a follow-up in a couple months to really get a good test of the product. But like I said, it did come in a subscription box, so I didn't have to pay full price for it. I just had to pay the subscription fee for the box. That being said, this face mask costs $48, which kind of stopped my heart when I initially found out. I try to buy nicer things, but I am a girl on a budget. So seeing that price tag, made me a little shook, not to lie. And I'm interested to see if it's worth the $48 or if this is going to be a product that is, a quote unquote luxury item, but doesn't really work necessarily. So I guess my final thoughts on this product in particular is that I'm not really sure yet if it's worth the money. Like I said, it's going to be an ongoing process in terms of giving it, a review that is worth it, basically. But that being said, my skin did feel very clean afterwards. It, because I have oily skin, I like when my skin feels dry for once. So my skin did feel very clean. It felt dry. It didn't feel, tight or, like the product was, having some kind of chemical reaction with my skin. So all good things on, test 1. And I did my makeup right after it, and the product didn't seem to interfere with that process. But I would love to know your thoughts. Have you tried this product out for a while? Is it worth my time? And just your overall thoughts. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? We're just trying to have a discussion about beauty. And as someone who does not know a lot about skincare, open and honestly does not know a lot about skincare, I'm still learning. We are all still learning as humans. So definitely, check out our Facebook page, drop some knowledge there, about the episode, and, let's just have a discussion about beauty. I'm so curious to see what other people are thinking about this product. So I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, we're going to be talking about a pretty controversial brand, and that is Jeffree Star Cosmetics, and more specifically, his deluxe holiday mystery box from this year. Stay tuned.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back, everybody, to the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast, hosted by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am, again, of course, your host, Becky, and in our previous segment, we talked a little bit about skincare in terms of I tried out the Enro Laszlo Exfoliate and Detox Pore Cleansing Clay Mask. And again, I'm not sure if it's worth the $48, but we'll see. Ongoing investigation. But in other news, so I wanted to talk in this next segment about kind of a more controversial brand in the makeup world, and that's Jeffree Star Cosmetics. And one of the biggest reasons it's controversial is because of the CEO and founder, Jeffree Star himself. So if the name Jeffree Star sounds familiar, there's a reason for that. If you're like me, and we're on MySpace back in the day, Jeffree Star actually got really big, by doing music. Starting on MySpace, he did do a full studio album. And since then, he's been in and out of the news, in the world of YouTube and social media. He's had several controversies in the last 10 years, including one with makeup owner and tattoo artist Kat Von D, which are all things that you can look up about Jeffree Star if you are interested. Most recently, he collaborated with Shane Dawson, who is also a YouTuber, to create not one but two different YouTube docu-series, which is kind of a new thing on the platform, but collaborated with Shane Dawson to create these docu-series that showcase his life, his business, and then as well as the process of actually making an eyeshadow palette from scratch, which is what the Shane Dawson Jeffree Star collaboration palette titled Conspiracy, as well as the mini palette, which was the Mini Controversy. So over his time on the internet, you've kind of been able to see Jeffree Star evolve, one, and two, go from, someone who, and he will admit this himself, someone who did not have a lot of money, to someone who is a self-starter and ended up, creating a very thriving business, even amidst all of the controversy that surrounds him. Whatever your thoughts about him are, I'm not really here to talk about his social persona or, his relationships with other people. Is he a drama fest? Whatever. I'm here mostly to talk about his makeup, which I gotta say I really like. As an alternative girl, who, likes a lot of pops of color, likes a good shimmer, loves a good highlight. I really respect his brand, and his cosmetics formula. I think that his company is doing a great job in that sense. So I do follow, Jeffree Star because he gives a lot of hints about his upcoming launches and things like that. And one of the things that he had advertised about a week or so before Thanksgiving were his holiday mystery boxes. And the boxes launched on Thanksgiving, the 28th. It was noon Pacific Standard Time and 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is what I am on. So I was getting ready to eat dinner, basically helping my mom finish up making a couple things for Thanksgiving. And I had to kind of sneak away and order this box really quick because it was definitely on my Christmas list. And, total transparency, I did also order his medium-sized Halloween box, which was amazing when it comes to how much product you actually got in the box. So when he said he was doing a slightly cheaper Christmas/holiday box, I was in. So I refreshed my page until the products actually launched and was able to get the deluxe mystery box, which had a total of 8 items in the box. So what was in my mystery box? First of all, I thought it was really interesting because now people are, posting their own videos about what they got in their box. And it seems to me that everybody got something different in their holiday boxes, which I think is really interesting and also makes me curious about what other people got in conjunction with mine. Because I did watch ones on the Halloween box when I received mine, and basically the Halloween boxes all had the same, X amount of items in them. So what was in my holiday mystery box? Well, I will tell you. The first thing right on top is a sweatshirt from his merch line. It is the anniversary edition sweatshirt. It says Jeffree Star Cosmetics on it. It also says Premium Cosmetics Company. I'm wearing it now and reading it off of myself. 5-year anniversary, and then Calabasas, California, which is where they're located. The next thing that I had pulled out was there are 2 velour liquid lipsticks. Mine specifically, I got one in the shade Clout, which was a metallic purple shade, and one in the shade Huntington Beach, which is a kind of turquoise blue color. The next thing I pulled out was a Supreme Frost, which is, I guess, the second tier of highlight intensity for his brand. I believe it goes Skin Frost, Supreme Frost, Liquid Frost, and then now the Extreme Frost, which just dropped. My Supreme Frost came in the shade Caramel Kiss, which is kind of a bronzy gold color, which may or may not be too dark for me. We're going to find out. I'm really interested to see how it looks. It's very golden, which is not my normal highlighter shade. The next thing I pulled out was a single reusable straw. And it looks like a peppermint stick, which I'm pretty sure is exclusive to the boxes, followed by the second exclusive item, which was only in the deluxe box, and that was the Peppermint Frost Highlighter Pro Palette, and it has 3 shades, and we're going to talk about it in depth in a little bit, so hold on. And then, lastly, the third exclusive item was a sticker sheet, which was very controversial, in terms of, they were supposed to be the exclusive item in the smallest of the mystery boxes. If you haven't heard about it, I would suggest looking it up. It's a very interesting kind of story. And then the one thing that actually really interests me, that came in the box was actually his, Thirsty palette, which was a summer collection palette that he did a couple years ago, and has 15 shades, 10 matte shades, and 5 new formula shimmer shades. So that is what today's look is inspired by. We did a nice frosty look today with the Thirsty palette. Some Huntington Beach on the lips, some Peppermint Frost on the highlight. It was a good day, ladies and gentlemen. So I know what you all are wondering. Is this box worth it? Were the mystery boxes worth it? And in my experience, yeah, totally. I was one of the lucky ones to get a larger box, and I did a total of, all of the things that came in this box, except for the highlighter palette and the sticker sheet. And in total, I guessed on the reusable straw. In total, this box is roughly $166. If we were to put a price on the Peppermint Frost highlighter, I would probably say that would, maybe bump it up another $20 to $30. So you're looking at roughly a $200 box that you paid only $100 for. And luckily for me, girl on a budget, Jeffree Star's website uses Afterpay. So really I'm only paying, 22 and change over the next, couple months. So basically you're buying, all of this product at half the price, which for me, I think is extremely generous. And I think you got a pretty wide array of stuff, that could definitely give you different looks. And like I said before, everyone's boxes seem to be different. I think you get a wide array of product in here. So I personally would think it's definitely worth it. He does these mystery boxes a lot. He's actually teased that he's doing a Valentine's Day box, which I'm sure will be full of reds and pinks and purples, which I'm about. I think even with the controversy involving the sticker sheet, overall this is a great deal. And if you also ordered the mystery box, I would be so interested in knowing what you got in your box compared to what I got in mine. So I'm going to take another quick break, and when I come back, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the products that I received in my holiday mystery box from Jeffree Star Cosmetics, but more specifically, what I discovered in trying out the Thirsty palette, as well as trying out the exclusive item, the Peppermint Frost Pro palette. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast, hosted by the GSMC Podcast Network. I, of course, am your host, Becky, again. And in our first segment, we talked a little bit about skincare. In the second segment, we talked about the controversial holiday boxes from Jeffree Star Cosmetics Company. And now I wanted to go into a little bit of a review for the Thirsty palette, as well as the exclusive that came in the holiday box, which is the Peppermint Frost Highlighting Pro palette. So let's just jump into it, shall we? So for the Thirsty palette, like I said, it's a summer collection that came out a couple years ago. The retail for this palette is $48 normally, and has 15 shades. In doing the research, I noticed that the Thirsty palette actually isn't on the website anymore, and I'm not sure if they still make it, to be honest. So this was kind of a fun surprise that came in this mystery box. So when you open up the Thirsty palette, obviously the outside looks like a popsicle or some kind of creamsicle-esque thing. And when you open up the palette, it of course has a signature large mirror, which is in all of his palettes, as well as the 15 shades that I had said earlier. 10 are matte and 5 are, kind of new formula shimmer shades. And I think this palette has a lot of diversity in terms of looks. It was originally meant to be kind of a summer palette, and that is reflected here in the fact that a lot of these are slightly neon and some nude tones, as well as these sparkly tones. Now, because it is winter and because I'm feeling a little cold, I decided to do kind of a frosty look with this palette, just mostly to see if I could. And I think it came out pretty well, to be honest. So I wanted to try and create kind of a frosty look in this palette, which I knew was going to probably be a challenge, but I think it came out pretty well. Of course, I will be posting pictures on our Twitter and Facebook of the final product. So when doing my look, I started with the shade Subtle, which is a cool tone, lighter brown, kind of a tan color, just as a transition shade. And then I went in with the color Splash, which is a little more on the turquoisey blue scale. It's a little between green and blue, but more towards blue. And I did splash in the crease, as like a pop of color. Normally I would do like a dark brown to do like a cool smoky eye or something, but I wanted to do something different. I then went in with Submerge and did that all over the lid. Submerge is more of a true sky blue. And the one thing I will say about using Submerge next to Splash, in the pans they look very different, but when using them next to each other, they kind of started to look like the same color. So to kind of differentiate, I took a little bit of this darker brown shade Drizzle, and just kind of popped it a little bit in the crease of my eye just to give it a little bit of dimension. I then took a little bit of concealer to make a very tiny little cut crease, and then went in with the shade Divine. It is a beautiful shimmer metallic silver that I just placed all over the lid, which I think really gave the look a final bit of dimension that it was needing. And then just for some extra fun, I took the shade Plunge, which is kind of a cool, dirty copper tone shimmer, just in the corner of my eye for a little bit of pop. And overall, I think the look turned out really well. It's definitely something that I would try to recreate again. And yeah, I think this palette is definitely solid. If the Beauty Bakery palette that I talked about in my previous episodes was your beginner palette, I think Thirsty is like a next step palette, because it has a wide array of neutrals. It has these gorgeous shimmer shades in the middle, and then it has these really fun pops of color that you can kind of play with. And then, of course, I think everybody who follows Jeffree Star and who follows the Jeffree Star makeup brand was really curious about was the Peppermint Frost Skin Frost Pro palette. Now, it is a highlighter palette, and I gotta say, I love this thing. And I almost didn't talk about it here, but I thought, why not? Because it is an exclusive item, I was a little nervous about it. But I just think it's so cool. It has 3 highlighting shades. The first being Ugly Sweater, the second being Igloo Gold, and the last one being Chocolate Ice. And I think the funnest thing about this palette is that it smells like peppermint. And I think that is such a cute thing to do, especially for something that's so stylized. And it's a small little thing that he kind of included in here. So the one thing I will say about Jeffree Star is he's very conscious of the fact that he has clients with every skin tone imaginable, right? So the one thing that's consistent in a lot of his products is that he takes that into consideration. And this exclusive item is no different. The Ugly Sweater has more of a white highlighter tone. Igloo Gold has more of a gold highlighter tone. And then Chocolate Ice has, kind of verging on copper tone. So no matter what skin tone you have, this palette is going to work for everybody. For my look today, I decided to go with Igloo Gold, which, as I said, I'm not usually someone who goes for a gold highlighter, but after swatching them, I was like, oh, that's pretty. And let me tell you, it is blinding. but I gotta tell you, I put it on with a brush, I didn't use it a lot, and girl, I mean, as soon as it came in contact with my skin, I was like, ooh, you're gonna be able to see that from space. So like I said, whether or not you, quote unquote, like Jeffree Star as a person, I gotta say, you gotta respect the brand that he's created over these last 5 years. And I think the formulas are great. The Thirsty palette, is full of mattes. They don't feel chalky. They feel soft. The shimmers are so soft. They're so creamy. And again, there's just a lot of diversity with these palettes. I think a lot of people with his newer palettes like Blue Blood, like Blood Sugar, kind of think that he has this kind of one color palette trend going on. But if you have the opportunity to get your hands on the Thirsty palette, it's definitely a solid one for your makeup collection. Like I said, there's lots of nudes, there's pops of color, there's shimmer. It's a very diverse palette. I think you could do a lot of shades with this palette without having to go to other palettes. And overall, the formula's good. I know it's going to stick around. And yeah, just overall, great experience, great box. And I'm even digging the stickers. So that's all I have for you today. Again, thank you for checking out the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast, hosted by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as I've said before, find us on social media. We are on Facebook under the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips podcast. We're also on Twitter, GSMC_beauty. And also, if you have the time, please rate, review, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. Let me know how I'm doing. And, again, let's just start a conversation about beauty here. Like I said, that's everything I have for you today. Make sure to keep listening. Make sure to check us out on social media. And make sure to stay beautiful. I'll see you later. Bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network, from health and wellness to entertainment and life and happiness to sex and relationships. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast.